Good afternoon and welcome to all our viewers from around the world. Thank you for joining us in today's edition of Business Incorporated. I am Bolaji Akinwale. Coming up, the Central Bank of Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee begins its 249th meeting today in Abuja, the nation's capital. Kenya and Uganda's presidents meet with oil company executives to hold further discussions on the route for a pipeline to transport the two countries' oil. Plus, mining and oil firms in the Democratic Republic of Congo to pay taxes and import duties in US dollars rather than in the national currency. We will begin with the meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank, which is underway at the moment in Abuja. Economic and financial analysts believe the volatility of the naira at the foreign exchange market and the double-digit inflation recorded in February will top the agenda at the two-day meeting. Meanwhile, one of Nigeria's Tier 1 listed commercial lender, Access Bank, has released its outlook on the two-day meeting. The bank expects the committee to retain the headline interest rate at 11% and leave the lending corridor of plus 200 basis points and minus 700 basis points unchanged. The outcome of the meeting will be announced on Tuesday, the 22nd of March. That is tomorrow. We'll discuss more of this on the program shortly. And crude oil slides for a second session today, down more than 1% from last week's 2016 highs on concerns over a supply glut after the U.S. rig count rose for the first time since December. U.S. energy firms last week added one oil rig after 12 weeks of cuts, according to data by industry firm Baker Hughes. The addition coming after oil rigs had fallen by two-thirds over the past year to 2009 lows, showed the fall in crude drilling stabilizing after a 50% price rally since February. U.S. crude dropped 8% to $38.64 a barrel. Brent crude's front-month contract was down 61 cents at $40.59. It hit a high of $42.54 a barrel in the last session. Kenya and Uganda's presidents and oil company executives will meet today to hold further discussions on the routes for a pipeline to transport the two countries' oil. Resolving the pipeline route is crucial to helping oil companies involved in Uganda and Kenya to make final investment decisions on developing oil fields. Last week, Tanzania's presidency said that Total, which had a stake in Uganda's crude oil discoveries, had set aside $4 billion to build a pipeline from Ugandan fields to the Tanzanian coast, and that Tanzania wants the three-year construction schedule shortened. The comments raised the stakes in the competition to secure the pipeline with Kenya, which wants Ugandan oil to be exported across its territory and wants the pipeline to link up with Kenyan oil fields. Okay, let's switch over now to Europe for today's market activities. I'm being joined by DWTV Channels TV correspondent live from the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, Conrad Busen. Good afternoon, Conrad. Welcome to the program. Now, the S&P 500 index in the United States has returned to a positive territory last Friday compared to the end of 2015. It's up around about 1%. How are European markets doing, and what does the start of the week look like in Frankfurt?
Well, the German share is still low. It traded on at the beginning of this year around about 7% lower. So the performance of the European markets and the German market in particular, compared to the United States, has been less strong. But I have to say the mood here on the stock trading floors at the beginning of this week is not bad. And behind this is also the oil price. You just mentioned a couple of minutes ago the oil drilling in the United States that has sort of picked up and as this is the main reason for this renewed little decline of the oil price, the price for Brent crude at the moment heading towards $49 a barrel. That's a bit lower than on Friday. But since it's the oil drilling in the US and the picking up of oil drilling in the US which is behind this decline of the oil price, the decline is not seen as such a negative sign anymore, not as negative as it has been seen for so many months. On the contrary, people here believe that this oil drilling activity in the US is ready to pick up because oil producers in the US reckon that demand for oil will be sustainable enough to really justify this oil drilling.
Now, a media company has joined the ranks of the German blue chip index DAX Pt.1. What does this mean for the German economy as a whole?
Well, it means our economy here in Germany has been getting a bit more diversified. You know, the blueprint for our economy here in Germany has been, you know, heavy materials, car making, technology firms like Siemens, many export-driven large companies. That was what the German economy as a whole stood for. But now the fact that we have a TV company joining the DAX, joining the 30 German blue chips means that we also have a bit more of a service-oriented company in our major league. And let's not forget Vonovia, another company that's purely a service-oriented company. It's a real estate company renting out hundreds of thousands of apartments here in Germany. Now this means we have a bit more of a service-oriented industry, and the DAX as a representative of our economy here in Germany becomes more of a diversified asset also to invest in.
Now finally, Conrad, Apple is expected to launch a smaller iPhone today. How big an event is this for people on the markets?
Still a very big event, given that Apple is such an wide, large and small own stock of Apple. But I also have to say, following this, you know, orchestrated PR show every few months becomes a bit of a bore as well. You know, Apple a few days before the press conference leaking a few details about what we can expect, and then coming up with another device that's supposed to boost sales for Apple. That's not the only thing that Apple stands for right now. The discussion about whether or not the encryption technology of Apple helps terrorism is becoming more and more important, as well as the discussion whether Apple really pays its taxes in many places of the world. That's a concern for investors. And you know, also the question whether Apple is really able to build a community, a sustainable customer base in the long run, as well as its competitors, Google or Amazon or Netflix. Many investors and some analysts have doubt about that. It might not be enough for Apple to, you know, simply milk its customers by demanding high prices for its new devices and its services.
Okay, thank you so much, Conrad. That'll be all we'll take from you. Conrad Busen there, DW TV China Civic correspondent reporting live from the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. We're going to break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about expectations from the Monetary Policy Committee meeting. We'll be right back.